Is this your first album with us?
Yes.
You've been on the show to talk about how to listen to jazz. Is this the first official album?
That's true. Yeah.
Congratulations and welcome.
Well, I expect.
I didn't even do that up front. Maybe I'll cut that and put this at the beginning. All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to Electric Works in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Today you've got all three brothers and our father in the middle of us to talk about an important album. As we begin today's episode, we've hodgepodged some things, but we've got a camera and a microphone in between us, and so we want to talk about Steve Coleman, Motherland Pulse. But before we do, I want to talk about where we're sitting and the historical impact of where we are. One of you want to tell us where we're at in Fort Wayne, Indiana?
We're down the street from where we grew up.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's the significance for me for sure.
Well, and the memories of riding bikes back and forth through here and everything else. Every time I come down here, it brings back those awesome memories.
Yeah.
I've grown up in
Just-
this area.
Just past Zesto's, where I remember riding our bikes down to, coming down this way, and it's changed a little bit, but not much.
It's changed a lot, actually. But this
This has changed.
Yeah.
What is
but
this?
The street. Electric Works.
It's called Electric Works from the GE company that manufactured a lot of electric motors over the many, many years of this existence, and it's just kind of grown. And a couple years ago, there was a meeting of the city fathers who decided, let's resurrect the GE buildings, actually. And so a lot of renovation went into rebuilding, restructuring, renovating the buildings to make it more accessible to the public. So there's offices here, there's a farmer's market, there's food inside the Union Street Mall, and several large companies like Do It Best occupies a good share of what we have here.
Yep.
Well, and Steel Dynamics their offices are here now. Some of their admin offices. So it's a revitalization project for this whole area, which is just it's so cool because this sat here empty for 20 years with no activity in this area whatsoever, and just the revitalization is it's just cool.
Cool
Really
vision.
is.
Yeah.
It's a cool vision for what they've done.
Phil, you've been to the Fort Wayne Welcome Center and Dad History of Fort Wayne. And we're going to take a station identification as we have a helicopter fly over, just in case.
That's called jazz, baby.
That's
We're improvising.
Improvise. So, Fort Wayne history.
Yeah, Fort Wayne history goes back late 18, right? Three Rivers, the old fort. 1785 to Yeah.
1798.
But the history I know is 1976, when I was born here, just down the road at Lutheran Hospital that doesn't exist anymore. That's my history lesson.
Well, and here's the cool thing. I'm going to tell a little story. Several years ago, I was hanging out with some friends of mine in Chicago, and they were making fun of my hometown. Well, it's Fort Wayne, Indiana. What is there to do in Fort Wayne? What, big deal. You're in Fort Wayne. There's nothing to do. But Fort Wayne's actually a cool city. Just in case you didn't know, anybody watch baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit,
Little
right?
bit.
Anybody watch night games?
Yeah.
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 The first night baseball game was held right here in Fort Wayne
Seriously.
because of General Electric and the light bulbs lighting up the field.
How cool.
Right?
Very good.
Drop that bomb, man. Look at that.
Drop that bomb. And
Cool.
I don't know if any of our subscribers or watchers actually watch television or have ever seen this thing called television. Philo Farnsworth. He located here in 1938 and made television possible with the camera and the receiver. The sender and the receiver made television possible right here in 1938.
Wow. Man.
Yes,
So, Fort Wayne's pretty cool.
That is a
something
cool
else that's pretty cool, actually, is that I think they were called the Daisy Girls, the women's softball league, and they worked out of here.
Yeah.
And some of you might remember the Zollner Pistons,
Oh, yeah.
which later became the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
Fort
And,
Wayne.
believe it or not, we've had some famous people from Fort Wayne. You ever seen the show Bewitched?
Yeah.
Well, I watched it.
I wasn't supposed to watch it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, maybe. But anyways, Darren, the main character in Bewitched, besides Samantha, he's from Fort Wayne. His name's Dick York from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
How about that?
Ever seen the show Cheers?
Yep.
Yeah, Shelley Long.
Shelley.
Yeah, she's from Fort Wayne.
Cool.
Where's Radar from?
Radar's from Toledo.
Oh.
Not Fort Wayne.
I thought we were going down television quizzes here.
Carrie
That's
Lombard,
cool.
too.
Carrie
She's
Lombard?
An actress in the 40s or 50s, I think.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
She grew up here in Fort Wayne. I don't remember what school she graduated from, but yeah, that was a big
Carrie
deal.
Lombard.
Now, you did mention Fred Zollner, right? Did you mention
Yes.
Zollner?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he was a business leader from Fort Wayne. Who's another famous business leader from Fort Wayne that you can think of today?
Yes. What's his name? Surak.
Chuck Surratt.
Chuck Surratt.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Little shout out to the Sweetwater.
To the Sweetwater Company,
Yes.
which is the largest sound and video and audio music store.
I may have to go take some lessons about getting all this equipment
I was
set
going to
up.
say, maybe he would use the keep it simple kind of idea today,
Well,
but
and that's what we've done. We've gone from a 3-camera setup with microphones and a whole bunch of fancy stuff to recording straight onto the camera. So
Yep.
it'll be a fun one.
Well,
what works, works.
again, it's jazz and we're improvising. So
Absolutely.
What works, works, and electric works.
That's right.
Let's do it. That's
so,
very
again,
cool.
thank you for joining us on our channel, on our journey. This week we are talking about Steve Coleman and Motherland Pulse. I failed to bring my magazine with me. I do not have that information with me right now.
So here is a magazine that you can look at and read that information.
All right.
Nice.
I can't sit still.
We've noticed.
Yeah, you
We've
cannot
noticed.
sit still.
What's
And
keeping you moving?
Matt, I would say this. That was a beautiful segue for this. Just due to the fact that we're sitting with two guys who are brand new to this journey, I have 2 copies.
No, you didn't.
One for each of
No,
you of
you
the Jazz
didn't.
Wise magazine. With
Wow.
100 albums that shook the world.
Wow, theirs is a
That's
lot cleaner than ours
cool.
is.
Mine's
Look-
about falling
Look
apart.
at that.
Theirs is a lot
Look
cleaner.
at that.
Now,
Very cool.
here's what we would say to you as we have to so many other people in the past. Don't skip ahead. Don't
Oh.
look ahead
Oh.
because you don't need to know what's
Oh.
coming.
All right.
It's supposed to be a surprise, and it will be fun to see some of the names. But in the meantime, sit back and enjoy some jazz.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
since we're giving
All right.
stuff out, I got you a little present.
Oh,
Wow.
you got me one.
I got you one.
You have a
This
real-
is a welcome home present.
Welcome home.
Is it a shot?
It's not a shot.
Ooh.
No.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Whoa. Whoa.
You guys can't see this, but I'll take a picture and put it up.
Dang.
Not only is this Yeti, Austin, Texas, baby, but it's got the Unconnoisseur logo on it with the trumpet.
Trumpet.
Wow.
That's cool. That
Very
is
cool.
really
Oh.
cool. Dude.
You'll get yours
That's
on
my-
your 5 co-host
Oh,
episode.
just have to go 5
You
times.
gotta go, yeah. Well, this is already number 4 for you.
Hey, all right. We're coming close
This is
then.
already number 4.
Seriously? I have that to look forward
You'll
to?
get yours on your 5
Wow.
episode.
That's cool.
That's cool.
You could put the saxophone on mine. 'Cause that's-
too late, and you're getting the trumpet.
A trumpet. Oh, whatever. I
Dad's
was
gonna get the
thinking you were
radio.
going with the.
I get a radio.
Yeah, get some radio.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Why-
read the information on Steve
No,
Coleman?
yeah,
Why-
pull it
why
up,
would
pull it
you
up,
do
'cause,
that? Why would you put a radio on his?
While we're handing stuff out, I had these made too. Unfortunately, I didn't know all 4 of us were going to be on this episode,
No, you did not.
and you had already told me that you didn't like T-shirts. Here, you can have yours.
What? Very cool, man. Nice. Oh, here, I should probably hold it that way. There
That's
you-
Yeah.
It's gonna fit.
Yeah, buddy.
But there you go.
Ciao.
Oh, I'm gonna be wearing it all week long.
Got the Unconnoisseur
Nice.
logo.
I have a barcode
Nice.
for everybody to scan. What is that? Scan here.
I like
Hey,
the
That's
gray.
great.
There you go.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Got the Unconnoisseur logo.
So cool.
Very nice.
Well,
Sweet.
So
I didn't bring you anything of any significance, but I did bring you guys all something. And I went down and bought you guys sticks today.
Yeah.
The reason I bought you sticks is because they're licorice sticks. And since Dad's on the episode today, right around the corner is where we used to buy these at the health food store in Fort Wayne. Now it's out, where is it? Across
North Anthony.
Yep, North Anthony. Exactly what I was thinking. Went by there today and picked you all up some licorice sticks.
Nice.
So I gave Matt his.
Yep.
I gave Dad his. So Drew, you
Is
get
this the
yours.
one you just had in your mouth?
No, this is the one I had in my mouth.
All right. Read the information about Steve Coleman.
This episode is of album number 73, Steve Coleman and 5 Elements. It was on Motherland Pulse, and it came out the album was Motherland Pulse, and it was on JMT, LP and CD, and it was released in 1985. I'm going to have on the screen the album cover and also who played on it.
Right.
But the one individual of note that I want to make sure we talk about, Cassandra Wilson. Blue Light Till Dawn.
That's right.
We've already spoke about her, and she does sing on one track on this album. So, man, did you all listen to it? Did you have a chance to listen to Steve? And by the way, we're going to skip past how our weeks were because we're all together.
Right.
You can kind of imagine it was a pretty good week so far.
I do have something to bring up about my week last week,
Do
though.
tell.
Well, I got to take Lily to see Three Rivers Big Band at the club room.
Yes.
So I was excited about that.
That's really cool. That was an awesome adventure
Yep.
with her. Yep.
And you 3 got to go with her.
Yeah.
I'm the odd man out.
You had me
I'm
now.
the odd man out. I'm sorry about
But
that.
at least my daughter got to enjoy that.
That's right.
And Lady D was there with us.
Lady D.
And after the first set, they took a break. We showed up at the break, actually, and they said, hey, why don't you jump up and play? That was so cool
Yeah.
to get to be there
So she
with
got to play a
that's
song.
Lady D playing a
Yeah.
song. Yeah,
That's
sorry,
awesome.
Three Rivers Big Band with Chuck Sirac.
Yeah,
That's
Chuck
it.
Sirac playing the Barry sax.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
would have been cool.
Yeah, it was cool
That
stuff.
would be cool.
And
Cool
some
stuff.
other notable musicians.
Yeah, we already said Lady D.
Everybody else playing in the big band is notable. I think that's what he was going to say.
No, we already said Lady D.
Enough is enough. Lady D it is.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Steve Coleman, and unless you had something you want to share, because I know you got a lot to share.
No. Our weeks are good. We're gonna be celebrating. You know, after this, I'm gonna actually when this launches, I'm gonna have a 20-year-old. That's some history, man. 20 years old man.
You're old.
Old man. Wow.
Well,
I'm so
if
proud
he's
of
old,
him.
That means you're old.
Yeah.
That means that I'm old.
That's right.
That means that
He's old.
he's really old.
The Grand Pumbaa.
And gray hair to prove it.
The man. The man, the myth, the legend. The reason we all started.
That's right.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
How cool. Anything for your week other than that you flew in?
Travels and I got here.
That's
got
right.
here safely.
Safe travels. It's good stuff. Fort Wayne Airport.
Yeah, I do have to say, because I can't sit still, I'm looking at the OBS now, and I'm like, okay, let's move this. This is all stuff I could have done beforehand. They've remodeled the airport. It looks phenomenal.
Isn't that crazy?
It was really great flying in. When I got off the plane, I thought, what in the world have I done? Where have I gone? What's happened?
Did I really
I'll put
land
some
in Fort
I'll
Wayne?
put some pictures up.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
I don't get to go back until I
Yeah.
leave in a couple of weeks. So,
Right.
Right.
so you'll just have to see the photos later.
There you go.
I'll download them offline.
Yeah. Okay.
It's cool. So yeah, that was it.
Okay. Well,
Steve
Yeah.
Coleman.
talk about Coleman because you can put up the slideshow.
Yeah,
Oh.
slideshow's coming up. Let's do the
Slideshow's coming
slideshow
up.
and then we can
Yeah,
talk.
there we go.
Or you talk Steve Coleman while you roll through the first 3 slides. How's that?
All right.
Okay.
Why not?
Let's do it. So first slide's always going to be the same thing.
Always
Whatever
gonna be
you
the same thing.
whatever you do.
Do it to jazz.
Yeah.
We should have turned some jazz on while we were setting this up.
How do you do that?
You were
How about
listening-
I was listening to it in my head to keep me calm, keep me through the whole
Maybe
pace
that's
of this
what
thing.
I needed.
Yeah.
This week's album to me was a really fun album to listen to. Now for everybody watching this, there will have already been a link and a short about how you can find the album. YouTube is the only place that we found the album, and it's one 40-minute YouTube video. So I will have a short with the YouTube link, to all 8 of the individual songs on the channel. So by now you've already seen that in a short. So you'll be able to listen to individual songs. Dad mentioned something about the 40-minute song that he listened to.
So, yeah, because I'm definitely an unconnoisseur, and you sent me the link, the YouTube link to the album. So I started listening to it, and listening to it, and listening to it. I thought, I don't understand this at all. Because it just kept going and going, and then it would change, like from one style, one whatever song or whatever piece to another, and I was lost. I thought, do I have to listen to this 40 minutes? When it made no sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then Lily pointed out to me, well, Grandpa, you know, it's one full album with different songs on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were thinking one song.
40 minutes. I
40
thought,
minutes.
I couldn't ride my bike and listen to it for 40 minutes because I would have been lost.
Well, that brings me to the quote on slide number 3. Peter Watras, he was a writer, critic, a jazz critic. The mixture, heavy with his personality, is distinct. The first time you hear the music, it's a blur. The synapses don't fire. Nothing fits. The power lies in its ambiguity, and after the oddness wears off, the music is addictive. It's unmistakable, an attempt to resist obvious uses, and it's virtuosic.
Virtuosic.
Yeah.
Now,
Pretty cool.
I wish I would have known that before I started listening to the 40-minute clip.
right? Well,
Yeah.
and because even the critic was thinking, man, this is kind of all over the place, and I don't know what to focus on. He was having a hard time until he realized, hey, it's going to dial in and everything's going to flow.
Yeah, I actually found it different. I actually found it where they had one song and then they had two songs on one and then another one, and I went, but I don't know where song one and song two stops.
Right.
And actually, I went and searched for it. You know, the tags are in there, so you can find it. Probably the same with the one big album. But that's when I located what always we talk about is what's our favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
And mine is number 8.
Okay.
And it actually is Motherland Pulse is the name of the song. And just the way that it started out, the way that it draws you in, and then as the sax comes in, just that's my favorite. It laid it out in such a smooth way.
So you can drop a clip of.
I'm going to drop in
Yes,
Motherland Pulse right here.
That beginning of it is so smooth.
Good.
And because I didn't know Steve Coleman and I was confused about his music and that album, I found some other albums that I listened to. And so Steve Coleman grew on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I learned that much more to appreciate what his style is and his profound ability to make music out of it and his group.
Yeah.
Drew's going to have a lot of notes on a lot of information on that, I can promise you. Because I remember a year ago when we talked about Steve Coleman, he got all jacked up about what you're saying right there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're a good 5 element.
So,
Cool.
Right?
can I ask a question about 5 elements? Because I don't know. What are 5 elements? Just the group?
Yeah.
They call
It's the name of his group.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you this. When I was doing the slideshow, and especially for the discography, I don't think Steve handled himself real well management-wise, because he's got Steve Coleman albums listed as individual, Then he's only got one Five Elements album listed, and then he's got several albums.
Listed as the Steve Coleman Group.
As the Steve Coleman Group.
And if you look at the actual CD here, it says Steve Coleman Group,
yes,
and not Steve Coleman and the Five Elements.
Yes.
Those are some of the albums or songs that I listened to.
Some of the different albums.
You gorged on Steve Coleman this week.
Pretty much. I mean, I was listening to quite a bit of.
And it's got to be quite a shock, because I called you, 2 days ago and said you want to talk about Steve Coleman. So when you start saying, well, I listened to this album and that album and this album and that album, I thought, my goodness, you really did gorge on Steve Coleman this week.
Did you do? Yeah, you did Dropkick. I did Dropkick.
Yep.
Oh, Dropkick. Actually, it's funny because I turned it on Spotify and it kept playing over and over and over.
Yeah.
I think I was the third time through and I just went, maybe this is the same song, but I just loved it. I was into it, so I was like, this is just smooth. He just keeps on rolling, you know? Yeah. So I literally listened to it on repeat.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was listening to the Conscience. It's called The Conscience. And I put in quotes, like it sounded more like hip hop.
Yeah.
Is that?
And he'll touch on that again in just a minute.
Yeah, he's digging up the gold mine already.
Yeah.
Gold nuggets.
No, I want him to.
No. That's all I was going to say about it. Hip hop. It didn't do for me what. Because I'm not into hip hop.
Yeah. Right.
Jazz. I'm learning to get into it, but hip hop, I'm not sure I ever want to.
Yeah.
I just
not yet.
It's not your cup of tea.
So I did Functional Arrhythmia.
Oh yeah.
Okay, again, the way that I listen to it, I put on the album list to it straight through. I don't know if you guys did that or not, but Functional Arrhythmia for me, I enjoyed actually a little bit more than Motherland Pulse.
Did you? Yeah.
And then Rhythm People. I don't see.
Yeah,
Rhythm People. Yeah. You put three stars next to Rhythm People.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
What other ones did you do, Phil?
So I did the Tale of Mad Fat. That one, as I will just say, if you listen to the very beginning of this one that's live, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is so cool because I was reading, a little shameless plug, Finding the Groove this week, and I was reading about Coltrane, and I'm listening because I wasn't listening to it in my headphones at first, and I'm like, did he just say Coltrane? And if you listen at the beginning, he starts, they messed around and what are we doing? He goes, I don't know. I'll do a saxophone solo, right? And then he starts and then he stops really quick and he goes, whoa, I just stopped for a moment and recognized Coltrane just walked in the room. And then he keeps on playing. It was so cool to think, what? The guy I've been reading and getting inspired by, which I'm not going to go there because I'm going to start preaching. I'm start going there. I was reading this to my wife today because I'm like, you've just got to hear this segment. And I won't read it right now, but I'll just say, when Coltrane's story hit my story, dang, I'm going to do it. He hit my story. Because when that story hit from abuse of alcohol, drugs, the things that he was into, and then he went into a room and broke free, and he heard the sound. And I was reading it out loud to Scotty, and we've been talking about, this last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the why. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why is the why so important? And when I read out loud to Scotty, you don't listen to what he's playing necessarily. It's not the music that you find the inspiration from, because he's crazy fast, right? Coltrane's crazy fast, but he was searching for something. He was looking for the why. And when you listen to the why, whoa, there's the why. He was listening for the sound. Guys, I'm telling you, this pulls me right into jazz, right into what you guys have been talking about. Thank you for the book.
So, the album, the Coltrane album.
Oh, he's not listened to it.
I haven't. No, because I just hit
You're
that
gonna
yesterday.
Find out the why.
Yeah.
You're going to find it out.
Yeah. There's a why. There's a why.
And without you even hearing the album, or even probably knowing much about it, you just about hit the nail on the head, because that was his
Why?
why.
Yeah. Oof.
He practiced hours
And-
and hours and hours on end to find the notes
Yep.
that he could hear in his head
Yep.
to put it together.
Yep. We're bunny trailing far here. I didn't
know.
want to get
No,
us
we're not.
too
We're not,
far,
because-
but when he acknowledged that he walked in the room, I thought, and I acknowledged that he walked in to my room.
Yeah.
Because as Coltrane, Soul Train as they called him, was trying to help people find the why, trying to help them hear it, and he searched for it all his life. Which, by the way, he heard that 1 year after Steve was born.
Huh.
Right? Steve was born in 1956.
Yeah.
50
Was he 56?
56.
And in 57 is when he went into the room. You guys correct us because we're the unconnoisseurs of
Yeah.
unconnoisseurs.
56, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
56.
You're right.
And he heard the noise the next year. Woo, man,
So the
it came
album-
in.
The album that I'm going to urge you to listen to this week is John Coltrane's called "A Love Supreme."
Yes.
Now, we have not looked ahead in our book. You've just gotten your book.
I can't look
And we
ahead.
encourage you not to look
Yeah,
ahead.
please
Okay.
don't look ahead. No,
All right.
that would ruin it. But we're pretty sure that Love Supreme is either going to be number 1 or number 2 on the list.
Oh,
That doesn't mean don't go listen to it because of the way that you're feeling right now. Now would be a
Listen to
good
it.
time to listen to that album.
And I've been to a church where the priest, her sermon was based on the Gospel of John Coltrane.
Oh,
whoa.
So when you hear somebody preach for almost
Yeah.
an hour about that gospel message that,
Yeah.
that he felt through that album and the world did. So I'm going to use that because we got to get back to a different album,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherland Pulse.
Motherland Pulse.
So
I'm feeling the pulse.
his rabbit hole
Yeah.
took him to Coltrane.
Sure enough. It's funny because on the slideshow, Coltrane wasn't even really an influence. I mean, if you want to throw that slide up right now, Charlie
Yep.
Parker was a big influence for Steve Coleman, and the way that Parker played, I can totally tell that Parker was an influence the way that Coleman plays.
Yep.
All
So
right. Cool.
there was another Parker named Maceo Parker, and that was Maceo Parker. He was a saxophone player for the James Brown band.
Oh,
James
really?
Brown's, yeah.
Yeah. James Brown. Nice.
All right, so we were talking about the slideshow again. Just throw that slide back up there.
Yep.
The discography. He's got 32 albums in his discography, and the compilations, and just a whole bunch. He's
Yeah.
played with tons of people.
Yeah.
Who's who of who's who?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. And well, that'll come up here in just a second. The 6 degrees. Genre. He's jazz genre, avant-garde, and then the M.
Yep. And I want to touch on the M bass because I think it's one of the most crucial pieces of this. You know, we've talked about Coltrane and we've talked about so many other jazz musicians in the past. And I heard something from Wynton Marsalis. It was another 10-year-old YouTube listening to him. You can't build on it. And this goes back to the Wynton Marsalis conversation about straight jazz. Is he a purist? He is a purist to the point, and I heard this in the master class that he was teaching. You can't change the greatness of what jazz is. And this is paraphrasing. And you can't build on it
Right.
because it's already been there. What you can do is make some changes in it and make it yours. Make it for your generation, make it for your mindset. I can't change 50s jazz. I will never improve what it was. I'm not going to change 70s fusion jazz. That's not what I'm going to do. But in the 80s, Steve Coleman worked on this M-bass concept, and I'm going to slaughter the last word here because we've been trying to use it over and over. But the M-bass, it was all based on these substantial elements as a concept of looking at how to do music,
Yeah.
improvisation, and structure.
Macro, basic, array of structured extemporization.
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 that what it is?
Extemporization, M-bass.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm
And
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, these concepts.
5 elements.
yeah, yeah.
I always, and going back to the earlier
We're
question,
unconnoisseurs.
I thought the 5 elements were the 5 musicians.
Yeah, me too. That's what I always thought.
Yeah.
Or the group.
True.
But in the elements that made up M-bass, the improvisation and structure, music as a expression of life experience, makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to vocalize through my horn, through my drums, through the bass, what I'm doing. Contemporary relevance, bringing it to current jazz music. He fought that idea of jazz as a pigeonhole, though. He wanted his concept to be more growth through creativity and philosophy. And I'm sure we're picking up the helicopter.
Yeah,
So
pause that for just a second.
It's a really cool view from behind us, by the way.
Cool.
Yeah, it is
In
with
here.
the light.
So yeah, music as an expression, and then contemporary relevance, bringing it current, and then growth through creativity and philosophical broadening. He didn't want you to grow as a musician. His thought was grow as a person. When John Coltrane speaks to you, listen to the brother. When you realize that the album that he worked so diligently to have is Love Supreme, go listen to Love Supreme, because somebody's telling you you need this.
Connected.
And if you need it, you need it. And that's the growth that happens. That's the growth that's happened with you and I.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
well over a year of doing this.
Yeah.
And then the use of non-Western concepts. He wanted to build on these polyrhythmic synchronicities of things to make this music an expression and do it as a group. We can journey together as a group through improvising on today's setup.
Yeah.
We can do it all together. And so his music became about this personal growth and journey, which is why Blue Light Till Dawn and Cassandra hit me so much.
Yeah.
You start hearing about what Steve Coleman was about and what his groups were doing.
And he pulled her into M-Bass.
Yes.
And she's one that we've already covered, but man, she's incredible.
Yeah.
And knowing later that she was part of M-Bass gave me a greater appreciation for Cassandra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
But did M-Bass come from his exposure in Africa?
He did travel.
Yeah.
He wanted to pick up where these sounds of.
Great question.
Do you have a slide for that?
No, I don't actually. No.
He wanted to understand where some of the original beats came from.
Yeah.
The drum beats, the communication, and how we live life together through the rhythms.
And the communication.
And the period.
Aspect of the drums was where I think he focused a lot of his attention on the communication aspect and learning how they use the drums to communicate village to village, person to person. I think he was really involved in all of that.
And seriously, even on that album, you catch more of that extenuation on the drum, on the way it beats, on the way the rhythm draws. And I see that in other albums that he's done. There's interesting part I just learned how it connected.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's awesome.
Very cool.
So let me ask you this. Would you recommend Steve Coleman to a brand new listener?
Oh, yeah.
You would?
Yeah. You could easily cut your teeth on this.
Okay.
Oh, definitely. I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What about you? You're a brand new listener.
I would, but I'd have to make sure they understood that 40-minute clip is not one song.
I'll put that link right above Matt's head.
That was good.
To the individual songs.
Yes, break it down, because there were some pieces on there that were really, I really got into.
Well,
really
it's frustrating when you don't know the names of the songs or where they end, and so you're just listening to it, and the names of the songs don't come up or anything. So I can see where.
I hate to blame anybody for it,
but that's what's out there. So when I first listened to it, it was on YouTube Music, and I think you found it on.
I found it on iTunes, and I swear I had it in my iTunes library, and then this week
it's gone.
It's gone.
So it's a good thing it's on YouTube
as a full length video.
Yeah.
But I've already launched it. We have the individual songs, and you go listen to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say this: he does have 32 albums in his discography, but iTunes only has 5 or 6 albums in the collection, which kind of frustrates me a little bit. I don't know why his collection isn't on iTunes. Maybe it's a studio thing, or maybe it's a
Could be.
I don't know, but I found that to be interesting. I wanted to listen a little more, but they just weren't there for me get into.
I was listening through Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify has quite a few. I don't know how many, but they've got quite a few.
YouTube Music has a bunch too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
snob. I'm an iTunes snob. If I can't find it on iTunes, then
I don't want it.
well, there's exceptions to that rule. But.
So I'm looking at your computer. And you have lingo.
Oh yeah, the jazz lingo.
Let's
is
get to
there.
that slide,
That
baby.
slide up there. Jazz lingo for the day is the term is called chase, and it's where two soloists, such as a trumpet and a sax player, they take alternating 4 bars, also known as trading fours. So the 4-bar solo for me, 4-bar solo for Dad, 4-bar solo comes back to me, 4-bar solo goes to Drew, 4-bar solo goes to Dad, 4-bar solo goes to Phil. So it's called the chase.
That's pretty
so
cool.
If you're watching the leader, he'll tap his head to go to the head. Maybe he'll have a hand signal for the chase.
Oh,
Go ahead, you two.
Chase this one.
Chase
Who's
this
chasing?
one around. Yeah,
Yeah.
fours around. Fours. Chase fours or chase eights.
That's cool.
And I started to learn that based on, like, our drummer and bass guitarist.
Yes.
They would do that back and forth 4 bars, covering your 12 or 16 bar form, and then back out to the instrumental.
Yeah.
And we've got a large party back there having
Cool.
a great time. So
Some youth
I think it's
having
pretty
fun.
cool. That's what you get for being outdoors.
That's good.
I love it too.
Yeah.
I
That's
like
good.
it.
So I need to check my book again. Phil, you got a notepad of stuff over there. You got like 12 pages of things to talk about. What you got?
No, well, actually, from the caller last week, there was the question of jazz.
I don't want to talk about that question and answer.
The question of jazz.
Hey, questioner.
And I chased a couple of things on jazz.
So what was the
gonna-
question that we got that you want to address?
What is jazz? What is jazz? What is it? And so I picked up something today off of an unknown book. I don't even need to go there. It was just a random book I found because I have this radar now for jazz crazy stuff due to my brothers. Jazz, if you ask what it is, right? It was actually a book on guitars, right? And so it says jazz is this popular music, but guitar wasn't there right away, right? The guitar wasn't even seen as a jazz instrument because of its history, because of where it was coming from, and where it came from was New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
So the horns, right, the brass, that was jazz. That's where all the jazz instruments came from. And so it actually took a lot for a guitar to push in because they weren't mic'd up, right? They weren't amped up. They were just coming at it. So the electric guitar doesn't come in till later. But this one was really cool because as jazz then pushed in, they started wrestling with it, how they're going to interject, if you will, the instrument that I love now. I started on the saxophone, but now I'm playing the guitar. And so from this side of pushing into accompaniments, right, that was all that the guitar actually would do. Then I pushed into something deeper, which was like the back and forth, like you're talking there, as people are chasing. You don't have something pop out from, say, a bass guitar unless everybody steps back, right? Because the bass guitar is low. It's just barely popping through. But it's still pumping, right? The bass is just as important as they're walking through those elements of...
So what'd you find? What'd you figure out?
This-
Because here's what I'm thinking
it.
in the back of my mind. We're going to the question that you'd ask. What is jazz?
Yes, and so here's where jazz comes in. Guess where I'm going to go? A quote. A quote. Jazz is chasing after something. Jazz is chasing after the tension, creative tension. And so as the lingo goes and as this 5 elements goes, the creative tension becomes the master of what we're going to. Can you hear it? Can you chase after the things that you're looking for in this creative element? I love, just as this goes to the amount of different instruments and different things in jazz, it's the chase. It's the chase of the emotion. It's the chase of truly what's kind of happening here.
Can you feel it?
I can feel it. It's good. It's really cool. Really cool to be with everybody doing this as we chase it. There's my solo. Turn it back over to the saxophone.
You and I spoke earlier about the wrestling with that question and trying to whittle it down to to a 1 minute answer, a 3 minute answer, or a 5 minute answer. I'm still struggling trying to get my 1 minute answer. What is jazz? So that caller last week, she really lit us up and put a fire under us to wrestle with it, to try to explain it. I don't really necessarily think we have to explain it. I mean, you say the word jazz to somebody, they're gonna get their own picture in their head, whether it's Ragtime and Dixieland, whether it's Pat Metheny and Fusion, whether it's Coltrane and Ascension, whether it's Marsalis Black Coats from the Underground. I mean, they're gonna get their own in their head. Hey, if you walk up and says, "What is jazz?" to somebody out here on the street, the first thing they may say is, "Oh, John Coltrane, he's jazz," and that's all you get.
Yeah.
So trying to pigeonhole it, I'm still struggling with trying to pigeonhole it. Anyways.
Yeah. And I think that's what modal jazz, that's what M-bass jazz, that's what everybody's. We had to stereotype it, and what Winton later said is people like their categories. They like to be able to classify it. They love to put a label on it. Because will you drink it if I tell you it's lemonade?
Right.
Oh.
What could else be in that cup
Yeah.
of yellow water? So we like a label on it so that we know what it is, but does it mean that we need to pigeonhole it? Because it's Steely Dan jazz?
No. But is Chicago jazz? Chicago 25 or 6-4. It's got horns, it's got guitars, it's got bass.
Is Santana jazz?
Is Santana jazz? now here, I was even wrestling with that because I don't ever want to put you down and tell you that Santana's not jazz. He collaborates with jazz artists, Herbie Hancock, and
Wayne Shorter.
So
He does the chase, though, the lingo. He does the chase. He runs out there. He goes out. And to me, this is where I'm coming back to it. If I could play an instrument that I could feel the way that it just would roll through, right? If I could just go free, like I watched in the documentary this week from Steve, if I could do that and just jump out into the unknown, man, I would love that. That's what Santana is. Like, he just jumps out there, man, and
But
they're
I got to go
improvising.
back to this, though. How did they get there?
yeah, they didn't.
You want to go back to Coltrane? Let's talk about him and Parker Gillespie practicing for 8 to 12 hours after 3 gigs back to back to back.
Yeah.
So they were at it for nonstop. If they pour their life into it, the next thing you know, what's coming out of your instrument. So that's kind of it. So let me ask you this: the week in the music, did it shake y'all's world?
It did. Yeah.
It did.
And I finished.
Let's put up today's jazz history quote because the quote that I put on.
It'll go with it.
It'll go with what we're talking about today in jazz history. July 24th, back in 1940, Duke Ellington records Scipia Panoramia. Panorama. So 1940. Duke Ellington, which is important to me this week because it happens to be the artist that you and I are working on personally this week. And what a week.
What a week.
Anyways, I got another Steve Coleman quote on this slide, and it's going to correlate perfectly with the discussion right here. I don't think of what I'm playing as jazz, and I don't think of myself as following a jazz tradition. I also don't see Parker, Coltrane, etc. as jazz, and I see myself as being very much in the same tradition that those people were part of. He doesn't want to pigeonhole them either.
Yep.
Coleman, he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself, and he doesn't want to pigeonhole Parker and Coltrane as jazz either, because maybe it's unexplainable.
Yeah. Wow.
If I have to explain it, you wouldn't understand it.
There you go.
Says Louis Armstrong about jazz. What is it?
That's right.
What about you?
Because he improvises, he's innovative, and draws you into his music. Really does. So, yeah, I like the album. I like the
Now,
music.
we haven't asked you this before. Is this your first album with us?
Yes.
You've been on the show to talk about how to listen to jazz. Is this the first official album?
That's true. Yeah.
Congratulations and welcome.
Well, I expect.
I didn't even do that up front. Maybe I'll cut that and put this at the beginning. Or I'll just leave it at the end because that's how much we think about our Father. So we have a normal deal about rating this, 1 to 10. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. I want Phil to do it, and then I will give my rating, and Matt can give his, and then you can decide if you had to rate this album 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being a good album, but never ever again need to be in your ears. Phil, how would you rate this album this week?
And this is hard because I've appreciated a lot more of the artist, but this particular one, I put it like a 6.5, a 7.
Okay.
Man, Indo's got a better score.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes.
It's just where I came out. Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, especially because what's part of it? You got to know where to find it, right? You got to get out there and get it,
right?
And it ain't even there. So accessibility, even, and the popularity of it. Yeah, there's why my ratings.
Okay, Drew, what about you?
I gave this album an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I remember how bad it shook me a year ago, and it hasn't changed. I think that the album was spot on. I think that the music and the difference in the different sounds, I think it was spot on. And of course, then you listen to more music. There may have been some things we disagreed with personally in the artist, but I think that the reality is the album to me really was an 8.5. Nice. So what about you?
Well, I gave the album a 7 out of 10, and I have to be honest. If we could change our scores, if that was the way that we did it, this would be the first time in the Young Connoisseur history where I'd want to lower the score.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm still struggling with the fact, and I don't want to go on a diatribe about what happened with Steve, but I'm still struggling with that.
Yeah.
Mm.
The he said, she said, whether he did it, whether he didn't do it. Let me put it to you this way. If I'm making egg rolls, and you guys come over for egg rolls, and the deep fryer's going, and the egg rolls are frying, and you can smell them, and we sit down, we have egg rolls and rice and sweet and sour chicken, you get 3 egg rolls deep, and I tell you that they're made with frog instead of pork. It's going to kind of turn you off a little bit. You're not going to want to eat any more egg rolls because they're made with frog.
Mm.
Well, you might.
Yeah. Yeah. But
wait, you make chili with deer meat. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah.
But it skewed my opinion of Steve to the point where this would be the very first time that I'd want to lower the score because I had a hard time putting him in my ears this year, in my ear this week, if I'm honest.
Mm.
I did it.
Yep. And I think that's something that we'll continue to struggle with throughout time because people have transgressions. They're second chancers, if you will.
Yeah.
But we don't know the full story. But I do appreciate, I know where you're at on this. Yeah. And I think from the musical standpoint, I'm going to leave it at that. Yep. Because we can go down that rabbit hole and all of those things and think about what past musicians have done. So.
Well, it's funny how me personally weigh one thing differently against the other. You know, Wayne Shorter, he liked his cognac. Was he a drunk? I don't know. I don't care. I love his music. I love Wayne.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, and so why does that weigh different on me than necessarily what Steve did? Yeah. It just does. It just does.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. So
musically, Pops, what would you want to rate? Do you feel comfortable putting a number out there?
I'd rather not put it because I haven't listened to that many different albums. But I appreciate what both of y'all said about the person himself. Though he did improvise, he was innovative, and I like that about it. The album, there was the drums didn't do anything for me, especially the cymbals. The way the guy hit the cymbals, it was not drums to me. It was cymbals, and nothing but cymbals.
Sometimes that was the only thing that you could pick out.
Pick out. Yeah.
I could hear it. So
I respect the artist. I respect his music. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, then I don't want to finish this off by saying this last quote of Jazz, but it ties a piece in because the creativity that brought Steve to the saxophone in the first place. When I read some of his things and I watched a documentary on him, he was born in Chicago, He chased after a girl who had a saxophone, and he went to impress her by the saxophone. So he went and he started playing the saxophone. And then what happened to him was that he started chasing the saxophone and forgot about the girl. I moved down to Austin, Texas. I wasn't chasing a girl, as everybody said I was. Yes, there was a girl involved.
That was the Dallas. He didn't
But
chase
in
girls often.
1997, I moved down to Dallas chasing what I thought I was looking for, and I found something else. And if we go back to where he is, there's only one redemptive story. There's only one place we find redemption. And as Jazz is creating that, how can I say without... If Jazz can put that back in to me, to chase after the creativity, to chase after not copying, but being creative as our Creator is, then He's with us. And wherever we're wandering, wherever we're going, and He's got a path, He's taken us in that way. So what if we have the courage to find it out? That struck me, again, out of my favorite book. What if we had the courage to go find it out? That'd be my encouragement.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, so in true unconnoisseur fashion, again, this week is number 74, right? Or is it 73?
Yep.
Next week, we're going to cover...
Nope, don't look at that. I had the wrong slide in there.
Hey,
no, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it is. And I happen to have
Yes.
it right here in my new
next
book.
week-
Number is it?
That is going to be number 74.
So we're doing 73 this week. Next week, we're going to do 74, which is out of order for us. But there's a reason for that. You're only going to see us two next week in a very, very special location. And I can't wait. But Phil, go ahead and read about number 70.
Jan Johansson.
74.
74.
Yep.
Jan Johansson.
Jan. Is that how you say it? Jan. Yeah, that's a guy. There you go. Jazz Parsveska. Is that how you say it?
Sure.
There you go.
Jazz Parsvenska.
Yep. Jan was on piano. Jan was on piano. And George Rydell was on bass. Recorded in 1962 to 64. That's the album.
So
Go
Jan
look it up.
Johansson, I'll have that slide up, and then we'll have a link to that album.
Yep.
So go listen to it. And we've changed this for timing because of something that important came out of this album that we learned, which is where we'll be next week to kind of share that.
Yeah.
So, any last closing words, Dad?
Thank you for letting me participate in this with you all. I know
Yes.
you didn't have much of a choice, but
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. Whatever y'all do it to Jazz. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you around very shortly.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
La Rivedere.
A lot of it, Eddie.
A lot of lasagna. Don't get any on you.
See you around like a donut. Don't be a hole.
Oh.